Welcome into Always the Jags. It's your host, William Rose, aka King Whale. Today I am recording a quicker episode because I totally slipped my mind that we're actually playing tonight, and we're going to be playing pretty soon here. And I'm just now getting this podcast out. So I'm probably going to hit the points a little bit quicker than I really want to, to really sink on the points. But obviously the Jaguars are coming off of a phenomenal win against the Colts. I say phenomenal even though, we've beaten the Colts for the last 7 years at Everbank Stadium. And the Colts entering the season were not on the same class as the Jaguars. It was kind of just assumed that we would win the division and kind of run away for it. But again, for a long-suffering Jaguars fan like myself, especially after seeing us lose to the Texans, this game against the Colts is the exact kind of thing that we would mess up. This is the exact kind of game that we would drop, even after coming off of a huge win over, Super Bowl contenders, the Buffalo Bills. It would just be a very Jaguars thing to do to drop it. And so that, I feel like, really shows how Doug Peterson has changed the culture, has changed the narrative of, no, you guys are winners, and you need to play like it, and you need to act like it because you are talented, and you are winners, and we are going to win. And I feel like that's the message he installed in their heads, and they didn't give up for a single moment for that entire game. There are some people who will talk about the play calling at the end. I mean, now we have a situation where we're watching Trevor Lawrence very carefully tonight because of his knee and that call at the very end. I'm not really sure why Trevor Lawrence was out there either. I think the thing was when we were up 31-6, if we had scored one more time before the Colts did, especially before the half or maybe even after, if we had went up to 38-3, you could have pulled Trevor right then. And then the entire game if it was 38-6, you could have pulled Trevor, right? And, the game's over. You could have pulled him, put in CJ Beathard, run out the clock, and it would have been over. So it was we had a big enough lead to where Trevor shouldn't be getting hurt, but a 24-point lead is not that big. Well, I guess it was a 25-point lead. A 25-point lead is not as big as it sounds. Now that is 4 scores, but it's not quite as big as it sounds. So if we had a 30-point lead, I think that's the point where you can take him out. So again, even that last play, they were talking about they should have handed the ball off and kicked the field goal. I mean, if Trevor hadn't gotten hurt on the play, no one would be complaining about it. Just kind of the way it is. It's football. It's a physical game. Hopefully he'll be all right. I was even saying, considering because Walker Little is out and we know that who else is going to be out. I think it's mainly just because Walker Little is out and we know Brandon Scherff is not quite right. Maybe thinking about not playing Trevor Lawrence tonight. But a win would be really big for us. I don't think we're at that point in that season where we can just give up a game. And CJ Beathard might be enough to get us to win. I think CJ Beathard would need all of his weapons. He would need Zay Jones to have a chance to win. Honestly, if we had Gardner Minshew, as bad as he played on this week when our defense terrorized him, I would feel comfortable letting Trevor Lawrence sit a game, protect him a little bit, let his knee heal up with the mini bye, and seeing if Gardner Minshew could, because Gardner Minshew has proven he can win games even when the starter is out. Anyway, it's the NFL. It's the way that it goes. We still played excellent. A little fact a lot of people don't know, the Jaguars have 2 players that are tied for the league lead in interceptions, Andre Cisco and Darius Williams. And if anyone told you that that's the narrative we would have by week 6, if anyone told you they were expecting that narrative, they are a liar. Because we all thought our offense was going to be putting up 30 points a game and that our defense was going to be the thing that would keep us out of games. But it's been the exact opposite. Our defense has been the reason why our offense has put up 30 points in any game where they've put up 30 points. It's all come off of turnovers. It's all come off of short fields, And I think it's pretty amazing to have a Jaguars team where you're scoring 37, and even the fans are all something still just isn't quite right with the offense. Calvin Ridley had 30 yards. Christian Kirk, he had a nice game, touchdown, but I think he only went over 78. Trevor's spreading the ball around a lot, but it feels like if we don't get those turnovers, I don't even know if we win that game. And that's the I don't want to say scary part because we had some good drives, but it shows you there's still some things to work on in the offense. And I think it starts with the offensive line. And the best configuration we had for about 11 snaps, and it was Walker Little at left guard, Brandon Sheriff at right guard, Luke Fortner at the center, Cam Robinson on the left, and Anton Harrison on the right. And I think Anton Harrison is getting a lot better. He wasn't going against world beaters this Sunday, but he is getting a lot better. So with that lineup, you could see our offense was moving the ball better, and then Walker Little got hurt. And so now we won't be able to see that lineup for a couple of weeks. But, at least he's hurt. We'll still have, hopefully he'll be able to come back after the bye. So he'll have plenty of time to rest up, and we'll get him back when we really need him, which will be versus the 49ers. So, yeah, just an excellent win for the Jaguars. And I think that's the part tonight we'll really test to see how much Anton Harrison has grown, because it is 100% a guarantee Cam Jordan is going to line up on Anton Harrison. That's, like I said, no doubt in my mind that's exactly what he's going to do. People have been picking on that rookie all season, and there's no reason for them not to stop. Now, I'm hoping that scheme-wise, Press Taylor will have Brandon Scherf helping out Anton Harrison against Cam Jordan, but the problem with that is Luke Fortner isn't strong enough to hold up by his own. I don't think he can block most defensive tackles without some help. And he's technical, but right now, power is just running right through him. And if you get Tyler Shatley to help out Luke Fortner, well, now Cam Robinson can't block two guys. You know what I mean? So it'll probably be Anton Harrison versus Cam Jordan. And in order for us to win this game, he's going to have to win a lot more often than he loses. Now, last week, he didn't give up any pressures, so that was really encouraging to see. Alontae Taylor, some people say he's not that good. Some people say he is good. I think he plays in the style that Dennis Allen wants, very aggressive, and that makes him good. Sometimes that can lead to penalties here and there, and so maybe we'll be able to take advantage there. But that matchup versus Christian Kirk will be very fascinating throughout the entire game, as well as the matchup between Calvin Ridley and Marshawn Lattimore. And I think those guys have the skill set to kind of erase one of them. And even Paula Debo, since we don't have Zay Jones to stretch the field, he might be able to erase a guy like Tim Jones, Elijah Cooks, whoever else we have out there. So I don't think receivers are going to be big for this game. I think what's going to be big in this one is handing the ball off to Travis Etienne, because the Saints don't have a good run defense. And Cam Robinson is one of the best run blocking tackles in the game. And so if you decide to put Cam Jordan on Anton Harrison, well, we're going to run the ball behind Cam Robinson. And Cam Robinson's going to block whoever else you have playing across from Cam Jordan. So if the Saints want to play that game, Etienne's going to run to the left all day and just pick up yards. We're going to have an answer for Demario Davis, because he's an excellent linebacker in coverage, and he's going to be really good against the run. Evan Ingram might be able to throw him off of his game. Hopefully we'll be able to get Cam Robinson in space. Like if he beats the defensive end initially, he can go up in space and beat Demario Davis. But he's a guy to watch out for on defense, because I think he can cover Etienne or Ingram. But because we have Etienne and Ingram, one of them is going to be open, because it's going to be a mismatch for the other linebacker, whoever it is. Etienne's going to be too fast for him, and Everett Ingram's going to be too big for him. So I would look for those guys, and it's probably going to be a very slogfest, dink and dunk kind of game, because the Saints are good on the outside. And they're probably going to stack the box. So now there's a couple of times Calvin Ridley could win that one-on-one matchup against Lattimore, because Lattimore tends to play for the, I want to play hero ball. And so Calvin Ridley could win. I remember last time I saw them go at it, it was the Saints versus the Falcons, and Lattimore was on Ridley, and Julio Jones was on Eli Apple. And not going to let Lattimore just took Ridley away. So I think leaning on the short passing game, leaning on Evan Ingram, they're going to stack the box. But if we run behind Cam Robinson, that'll keep their best defender in Cam Jordan away from Travis Etienne. So it's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a low-scoring game. And I think the Saints do have a chance to win, especially with the way that their offense matches up against our defense, because our defense is going to take the ball away, which is really impressive. But where we're going to win is going to start the line of scrimmage, because the Saints' offensive line was already bad, and now it's just battered up. And so Josh Allen could easily collect another 3 sacks today. But this is the exact same thing that we predicted when we were going against the Texans, because they had a battered offensive line. So the Jaguars, hopefully Doug Peterson can get that into their head. Don't make the same mistake because you see that injury report and you know the starters aren't going to be in. You need to go out there and win every single rep, and I expect you to win every single rep. And so if Josh Allen can play with that fierce mentality, Trayvon Walker is getting much better. And someone brought out, like, our run defense is really good, partially because of Trayvon Walker, and he's setting the edge really well. And so, Aiden Hutchinson is not as good against the run as Trayvon Walker is. And so maybe that means our defense isn't as good, because even if we have more sacks, if we're not as good against the run, it's kind of like a trade-off. And that's where bringing in a guy like Danielle Hunter, even on a 1-year rental, I'd be perfectly fine with renting him, because then our defense would go from formidable to unbeatable. It would be, because you look at how the best teams just lost. The Eagles lost to the Jets. It was defense. Jalen Hurts was under pressure all night, and he made some terrible throws because of it. 49ers, they lost because the Browns' defense harassed Brock Purdy. It was defense is winning these games against these top-flight, incredible teams. And so, yeah, I think our guys are good enough to get us into the playoffs, but it's like, if we get Danielle Hunter, and again, our offense takes steps every single game and getting better, I don't think it would be too much to say that the Jaguars would become Super Bowl contenders. Because our defense would be a Super Bowl defense right now. If you just combine Danielle Hunter sacks, Josh Allen sacks, and Trayvon stopping the run ability, letting him rush from the 3 technique, we're getting Devon Hamilton back, Dewan Smoot. Like, that is a deep line that we can refresh. And it's hard to know what we would trade for Danielle Hunter. Personally, I think it would be worth it to trade our first-round pick in exchange for the Vikings' second-round pick and getting Danielle. That second-round pick is still going to be pretty high, probably in the top 5. And if we get where we want to go, our first-round pick, if we want to be Super Bowl contenders, our first-round pick would be 31 or 32. I mean, if we're just planning on making the playoffs, it would be in the 20s, but it's like, why not go for broke and go for where you want to be? So then the Vikings are picking at the very end of the first round, and we're picking in the front of the second round. And then we could do that, maybe throw them a 4th, because we got a 4th from the Saints last year, and throw them Kayvon Chase on as a guy they could take a flyer on, kind of let grow in their system potentially. Maybe Brian Flores can get the best out of him. I think it's a win for the Vikings, because they're not going to get much for Hunter. They'll have another first-round pick, which is valuable for the 5th-year option, and maybe they can use that to move up, maybe get a quarterback, Caleb Williams. So I guess we'll see. Another guy I would have loved to trade for was Matt Judon, because the Patriots are currently circling the drain. But he's hurt and looks like he won't be back till week 14. So it's hard to be like, do we want to trade for him? I mean, he's a guy you could trade a 6th for and probably get it, especially because he's hurt. And then when he comes back, I mean, that playoff run would be incredible. But if we want a chance to get the number 1 seed and beat some teams coming to town like the 49ers or the Bengals, if we had Danielle Hunter, I would pick us to beat the 49ers the way the defense is playing. Same against the Bengals. I think we could beat the Bengals anyway, but it's like those kind of things would just put us over the top. And so I think I would be also okay with trading a 6th for Matt Judon, but I would love to see the Jaguars go for broke, make some kind of trade. Because again, our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick are held up in Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to get a new deal. I think based upon the way he's playing, the Jaguars are probably going to put him above Christian Kirk, but maybe less than like A.J. Brown or something like that. So maybe like 20, 22 million. So it's probably going to end up being a 2nd rounder, but we can't do anything until we make that decision. So, we'll see. Those are just things that could make the Jaguars better in the long term and the short term. But I definitely think we'll re-sign Ridley, re-sign Allen, and bringing Hunter in would make a defense that's already exceeded expectations that much better. And, and it's kind of like, why not? And it doesn't mean you're giving up on Trayvon. It just means that you're accepting, like, Trayvon can learn a lot from Danielle Hunter. Like, he can help teach him. I think Josh Allen is a really good mentor, but he's not the same the way that Calais Campbell was, like, just a veteran who's been doing it for so long. So, we have a real chance to do something special. So, if we lose to the Saints, we'll probably just blame injuries. It won't be that. The sky won't be falling if we end up dropping this game. But most people think that we can come out with a win even with our injured squad. And I agree. I think, like I said, it's going to be defensive struggle. Definitely not going to be a high scoring game. If our defense can give us a short field, if we can run behind Cam Robinson, get some tough yards, drain the clock, we can win because the Saints offense hasn't been doing that much. Problem is we're probably going to need to double Rashid Shaheed and their other wide receiver, Chris Olave, with Jenkins and, Monteric Brown, and then maybe Trey Herndon and Andre Cisco. They'll probably need to be doubled, and Darius Williams will have to cover Michael Thomas one-on-one. And I think that's a matchup Darius Williams can honestly win, even on the outside. If Michael Thomas goes into the slot, it might be tougher because Darius Williams isn't as good in the slot. But things like that we'll have to watch because they'll burn us with speed. And so Derek Carr doesn't like to run a dink and dunk offense, though. And so as long as guys like Foye and Devin are flying around tackling guys like Kamara, he won't be able to dink it down. If we keep two safeties back there, he'll be afraid of the deep throw, but he'll probably still take it because Derek Carr will just do that even if it's not open. And that's a great chance to get another takeaway. So, as always, it was always the Jags. Hopefully we get a win tonight. And, you guys take care of each other. Until next time.